Welcome to Seeking the Truth with Caroline Stevens. Today in our Welsh studios I've got Robert Green, and Robert Green and I are going to be discussing the Hollie Greig case, which is a case that, I'll be perfectly honest, Robert, I don't know that much about. I know it's a Scottish case,
yes.
And it was relating to a child that had some problems,
yes.
And so over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, many people do know about the Hollie Greig case. Some people know a bit about the Hollie Greig case, and some people, Caroline, don't know anything about it at all.
So if you just do a brief recap.
Don't glare at me, please, Caroline. But the point is that obviously I want to just say something as quickly as possible to get through this, so that don't bore too many people who do know about it. It's been going on for 10 years and it's had worldwide interest. It involves the Scottish Government, including Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon.
Alex Salmond, very topical name.
Very much so, very much so. Just briefly, the story started when I was asked to help after I had an ITV programme about exposing corruption in the Metropolitan Police and the airline and travel industries back in 2006.
Are you talking about trafficking children?
No, not through the traffic children. No, there's financial. This was nothing to do with
financial irregularities.
Nothing to do with what I
okay.
did. Absolutely no connection at all. But it was because of that I was invited to give a speech in Scotland about what I discovered in England, and as a result of the film that was made on ITV, I was then invited to ask to see if I could help Hollie Greig, a Scottish case involving multiple child abuse. A subject in which I knew absolutely nothing.
And how old was she when it first allegedly happened?
6 years old.
6 years old?
Yes.
And where was she living at the time? With her
In
parents?
Aberdeen, yes.
With her parents,
yes,
or foster?
Yes. No, parents.
Right, so it was her parents who were abusing her?
No, one of them, yes.
One.
Of them. Now, there are certain restrictions placed upon me on this one, and I shouldn't name any of the people involved. And so that's the only. But what I will give you the general background of the story. Hollie had made those allegations and had tremendous professional support. And I will give you the people who had given documentary evidence to support her. 4 separate doctors, 4, all independent of each other. Dr. Jack Boyle, who was one of the most eminent specialists in interviewing children with child abuse problems in Scotland, but he's also brought over the border to England to advise on cases like that. He's so highly thought of, often by the police actually asking for opinions on cases like this, because he is so widely respected. He gave her full support. Also a specialist called Dr. Eva Harding, who sadly is deceased now. Dr. Harding was invited to give a full analysis of Hollie by Enable, the Scottish charity for the disabled. Hollie has Down syndrome, and she also gave a very, very thorough investigation of Hollie, and totally supported her. Also, the Grampian Police, before they all merged into Police Scotland, the Dr. Frances Kelly, that's a lady, Frances, she also examined Hollie and also found evidence that she'd been sexually abused. And the school doctor, the special school that Hollie was had, Dr. Paul Carter, also came to the same conclusion.
So there were 4 specialists, and that she had been abused.
Yes.
By one of her parents.
Well, it wasn't just that, it was a ring.
A ring?
A ring.
Okay,
yes.
So one of the parents was involved in a ring?
Yes. The key element then, on top of that, Hollie's mother, who was incredibly brave and was handling this matter on her own against the full weight of the Scottish authorities, the police, the government, the justice system were all trying to crush her, to shut her up, because it was so important, and some of the people involved were in prominent positions.
Judiciary?
1, yes. So, and police 1. So, these are all allegations, of course, but they've never been investigated properly.
So there's still allegations?
Oh yeah, still, yeah, because the police would not interview any of the people concerned or examine their computers. The important thing to bear in mind is this was put before the Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority, and the panel found that Hollie's evidence, backed by the experts, not just her word, backed by the experts, was sufficient for them to give her a financial award as a genuine witness of multiple sexual abuse.
Of £13,500?
Yes. Yes.
So that's an admission of guilt, surely?
Well, it's admission that the weight of evidence is very strong. It doesn't mean that the people concerned are necessarily guilty, but the panel are prepared to pay public funds to this person because they feel there's enough there to justify the fact that she was.
This is the justice system in the
Scotland.
UK. Well,
But
Scotland.
despite all that, the police would not carry out any investigation whatsoever.
To this day.
To this day. And in fact, I was present in Shrewsbury where Hollie and her mother had to flee to avoid the Scottish authorities.
Why, were they going to take the child
Oh,
away?
yeah, oh, of course they were, yeah, they were going to take her back and hand her to the abusers. That is the Scottish government.
Well, I know they were trying to have a named person's, every child.
Yeah,
was
well,
gonna
no,
be
this predates this.
Predates
all
that,
that, yes,
yeah.
that's a very important element. This predates this
Yeah.
by many years. This goes back to the late 80s, early 90s. This all comes
And she had quite a lot of support, didn't she? I
She had
was watching a video.
huge support. There were lots
Yeah.
of interviews and so forth. Again, it's not. I was asked to help with the case, and again, it's very important to understand that the people named are not necessarily guilty. We can't say they're guilty. I can't say they're guilty. All I can say is there was an inadequate investigation by the police. We now know, after a number of years, that the person who was responsible for blocking the investigation was none other than the former Lord Advocate of Scotland, a woman called Elise Angelini.
Right.
We do know from my trial in court that she was associated, she had a long association with the member of the judiciary who Hollie had named. And in fact, as I mentioned in Shrewsbury, I was present when Hollie gave all the details to the police in a 3.5-hour interview, all the details of locations, individuals and so forth.
So what was your role as such? How do you get involved in these sort of cases?
Well, I got involved because because of the earlier work I'd done on corruption in the Metropolitan Police.
Right, okay.
And then I was approached, having made a speech in Edinburgh, invited to speak about
Right.
it.
So how did you get involved in the Metropolitan Police? How
Because I was in the travel industry. That's what I am really. That's my profession.
Right. That's amazing. A series of stepping stones.
Very, very much stepping stones. You're absolutely right. That's very appropriate. So that is how it all came about. Just to cut a long story short, when I opened up the case, with the help of other people, I must say, I could never have done this by myself. I got a huge amount of support. And in 2011, it was found by the Information Commissioner that Alex Salmond and his ministers had attempted to cover up the rape case by being in breach of sections 10.1 and 21.1 of the Freedom of Information Scotland Act. That was found on the 26th of May 2011. It was ruled by the Commissioner then, Mr. Kevin Dunyan. Moreover, despite this ruling, and despite the fact it never got in the press, because the Scottish Government's lawyer were threatening editors all over Scotland, BBC, ITV, Display, don't mention this, even though they found the whole entire Scottish government at that time, including Nicola Sturgeon, not just Salmond, guilty of covering up the rape of a disabled girl. Right? Investigation into it.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, but nobody in Scotland knew about it because the press was silenced over it.
We need this video shared.
Now this is interesting
This
now
has got
because
to go
you all
out.
know about Alex Salmond and the allegations against him. This is actually proven against him and they won't talk about it. We don't know about these latest allegations. I don't know.
Right, so
about
shall we do in part 2, shall we focus on Alex Salmond?
We could do that. We could do that.
Because is this case, when we're talking about Alex Salmond, he's been mentioned in the papers last week.
Yes, but they're not. They're talking about allegations against him. But there's been proof already. He's been found to have covered up, and they won't mention anything about it. Doesn't matter which Scottish paper, that's BBC, ITV, Scotland's STV. They will not mention it. It's there. It's a fact. And the Scottish people, the people of Scotland, have been denied this information about their leaders.
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Would Alex Salmond ever have got to the position he had the Scottish people known? Would they have voted for him? Would they have voted for Nicola Sturgeon? No, I say.
I wonder if this has anything to do with us being kept in the EU. On that note, on that cliffhanger,
Yeah.
thank you to the audience back home for listening. This is part 1 of the Hollie Greig, probably a tri-part series. Look forward to seeing you again. This is Caroline Stevens, seeking the truth as always. Thank you.